So thank you for the intro. I'm excited to talk about beyond egg marketing. As you said, everyone has their phone on and some are sending it right now. So before we dive into the conversation of marketing and how it's helping everyone reach success, let's have the panels give us a little bit of a brief intro so you know why we're diving into some questions.
Sure. Yeah. First off, my name is Shakib and Morgan from Global Yacht Student Forum. Again, very monumental achievement for you guys to put this on in the time frame to bring the people, right, the brands together. So you're very pleased for showing the big game to those guys there. So
yeah.
For us, Luminsea, Pavlock, out here. We're going to see you on Nautical Network and Ruiz Group.
Ruiz Group is a full-service digital marketing agency that focuses on luxury variables. We focus on the marine space, much real estate, private aviation, and resorts and travel. We also company from Nautical Network, which is the media ecosystem. Within Nautical Network, we own 8 specific brands. We reach about 200 million people per year through our content we produce. We have a large following on social media of over 4.5 million followers.
Thank you. Is everyone right?
Yes.
My name's Robin Layton. I'm at the Gremlin Powerboats. I've been building and manufacturing, a co-founder, CMO, mother, because now our children are running the business with my husband, Mike Layton. And we've been building offshore powerboats for 25 years. And we've gone through a tremendous amount of models in the industry, and I've watched the whole industry as a whole go through different iterations of marketing and how to do that. And my specialty and my passion really is sales and marketing. So I've worn many hats in the boat building world because I've done it for 25 years. So I went from lay glass to painting to, lay graphics to doing the marketing, the sales, paying the bills. So I've had a tremendous amount of knowledge in the industry, and I love it. I love the marine industry. I thank you for doing this format because the great saying is not competition, it's collaboration. So I love that we can all network and collaborate in some format, and I think it's great to know you all. Thank you.
Now you already know me, you're probably sick of me, but I actually want to talk about Billy. I met him about 5 years ago after I bought Cigarette, and Cigarette's run by my 3 children and their mom. I don't really run the day-to-day. I did buy the company back in 2021, and ironically, I had 5 cigarettes when I bought the company. I didn't even know that I was going to have the opportunity to buy the company. And my favorite brand always was Cigarette, because I love speedboats, and I've raced boats, and I've done all that. But again, I try to do it if it's sick, because, that's muscle. Billy and his team with Nautical Network, I met them when that happened. I met them at the races over in Key West, and I love to see young people like him doing what they do. That's our future. And to see this young man and his team going out and building what he's built, I think is spectacular because it gets the word out and it makes the entire industry what it is. And, I just wanted to congratulate him on what he's doing.
Thank you, John. It's an honor.
So actually, let's dive in and talk about money. Because as a marketer, I'm sure that everyone that's hiring marketing is always thinking, how can you help us reach our end goal, which is financial growth for the company? ROI is always either sales, leads acquisition, even though a little bit of awareness. Some people throw that under the rug and only focusing on generate money. So why don't we talk about, if Robin asked this question, how to brands turn audience attention into real commercial value?
It's just eyes on your brand. It's creating extremely creative content that catches the eye of the end user because someone's scrolling their phone through social media or sitting at home with their litter watching YouTube. You only have an attention span gap of maybe 30 seconds. So within that 30 seconds, you have to grab their attention immediately. And you want to grab their attention long enough so that they'll sit and watch up in a long video or a 3-minute long video or a 5 or 10 minute long video on YouTube. If you could capture the attention of your audience for 5 or 10 minutes, that's incredible. Because today, day and age, people are moving quick. They don't have time. They're constantly bombarding with different brands, with different products. So you have to grab their attention and you have to do it quick. So you have to do that very creatively.
Thank you. And what about a funnel?
And you can talk about that. After you grab people's attention, and it really depends on the long format of YouTube, you have a few more seconds, and you can see that essentially goes on TikTok. If you've been grabbing the first 3, you lost them. So, but after you do get their attention, how do you actually convert that into sales?
Yeah, I think the most important part for any brand, right, to focus on is being almost, like I say, a funnel in channels. Be on their channel, how important it is, right? And you'd be very surprised where the funnel starts on any specific channel. I think both channels, again, play an important part into the funnel buying journey. Again, we've seen a person with case studies where an Instagram 8-second clip has turned into a boat sale. I'm sure you're only in 3-4 with buying a group of more social you're following. We've also seen it where you're following down people into a specific route where the aspirational content you might have seen on Instagram or TikTok, right, is now being pushed to someone looking that brand up on YouTube, right? So learn more, be more educated about that product. So I think the funnel can definitely start from the aspirational standpoint, whether it get a short form piece of content. It's also very important for brands, right, to be positioned in almost every channel and producing content, right, that our goal is for aspirational, but very educational about their product, right? That helps build trust and credibility of what product you built. So you're very surprised at where the initial journey starts. Now, we've seen YouTube videos, we see a yacht representative walkthrough video, and we're at a boat show, I forget. The guy walked up to the broker. He got the broker hitting me on camera. I heard a guy walked up to him on it was an Alpha yacht. And guy walks up, and never did this, walks up, he goes, "Hey man, I think I know you from watching your video on YouTube, right?" So you already built so much credibility from some of these followers and channels. So it's obviously very important to be everywhere.
I said, I'll go and up there. We were deciding where to live in Los Angeles, and we picked a place that actually had walkthroughs, and the person that did the walkthroughs actually worked there. So when we went to their office of real estate, we connected with them. We felt initial trust, and this was a YouTube video that did not e-kick for us. And the views were basically non-existent, but they were there just to get more information for the people that were really interested. John, as a buyer, what channels do you feel like a customer actually comes in and you felt like YouTube brought them in, or?
So I'm gonna go a little bit more fundamental, as I'm the oldest in the crew for sure. And I'll tell you, I've learned almost everything that I know from my dad. And my dad's 96 years old today. He's still alive, he's healthy. And probably about 6 months ago, I was having a conversation with him. And I said, "Dad, the world has changed." He said, "The world hasn't changed. So you get to know about things today that you wouldn't know about when I was growing up." So what I'm going to tell you about marketing, never studied marketing, but I've been fortunate enough whenever I touch something is low up. Because I think you need to feel what the person's going to feel. If not, you're not going to get it. And here's what I know for sure. The best marketing is word of mouth. And in today's world, you know what word of mouth is? It's a repost. It's a forwarding it to your friend or to wherever else it is. And that comes with creating a true brand where the person behind the brand or the company really wants to provide the consumer something that consumer is going to be proud of. Why could I buy cigarette? Because I believed in the brand. To me, it was the best riding boat in the world. I had one for a long, long time. I couldn't afford one at first. I was able to afford it in the year 2002, and I swore by it. And if you don't think of your company as providing something that somebody's going to use and they're going to tell something about it, I don't care how many channels you're on, whatever, it's going to die. And that's what I think the younger folks and the companies really need to focus on. Yes, to me, there's two things in the world of marketing. There's production and there's dissemination. The production of what you're doing comes in two ways. It comes in building a product, and then how are you letting the public know what you built and what thought process you put in behind it. And then once you're going to go disseminate it, it goes in different directions. I have some young ladies in my office that do marketing, and I know that they think I'm crazy, but I've told them, listen, I don't believe in those algorithms, I don't believe in any of that stuff. I did a video with a young man that is in real estate, and it got over 30 million views, and it had to do with a real estate property, a house. and it started at zero. So really what it boils down to is what is the content that you're creating and how are you explaining to the people that are going to ultimately see that what it's about, because the rest of it I didn't have
Like,
to.
storytelling and content is amazing. The great thing is now we actually have metrics that can tell you if they actually got to a good part of your video that's going to hook them in or not. And I love that you actually went into metrics and data, because as we know, a lot of people say that if you got a video that has 30 million views, now you're actually going to excel. But what's it shared? What's it say? Are the comments about how pretty the sunset was from the boat, or was it about how can I buy it? What's the engineer? What's the performance?
But you got to remember something. If you're selling something and you got 10 views, that you got 3 sales, I'd rather have that than have a million.
You're already telling there's another metric there.
So that's, to me, the metrics, again, I'm a technology guy. I don't get all the metrics, but at the end of the day, I go to the rudimentary backbone of everything. And I think that because of the new technology, and everybody gets excited about AI and everybody gets excited about all this stuff, I do too, but longevity is really where it goes back to. My view, this is only my view, that's, what I think, that you're younger, Billy's got his successful story. I think that when you're
Very successful.
So what happens is that Billy is selling something different than a brand. He's selling communication.
Storytelling. Yes, we've been talking about communications and storytelling. It's now the forefront. We've heard that from Mark Hewitt, Mr. Wonderful, and all of them, how being able to tell your story is what it's hooking up with your brand, the emotion behind them, and then again, your product and everything else. But I want to talk about beyond marketing, and we've all been in so many sessions about what's the next generation, Gen Z, where are we moving to? So I want to know, Billy or Ron, what changes have you seen, or what have you needed to adapt to marketing strategy to make sure that you are continuing to be relevant in front of the new and changing audiences?
It's point of catching. Yeah, as the newer generation, right, that can now be introduced to our industry, can afford, right, some of these products in our industry. It's important to realize that this generation is obviously very common on social media. That's what we're mostly talking about. When I were to look at a product or a business or in a restaurant, for instance, Sea Spice last night, if you learn about Sea Spice, I went to the Instagram channel for Sea Spice, right? I went to the Instagram channel to see what apparel, right, this to wear there. So I believe that's a very core for brands to have not only aesthetically pleasing, right, content, but more the consistent, right, branding and content on their social media channels, as well as being widespread in all channels. Because what buyers are doing today is they're not even paying for phone calling. Now you're running websites anymore. They're going to try to get you majority.
Since there's a phone and nobody's going to answer you. So you have to go to Instagram to even see if they're open.
Exactly. So a lot of people now are making the initial decision, or at least the initial, the idea of maybe you use your brand by going through your social channels first to learn more about the product, right? And that's why it's very important how you position your brand online, and how important it is to have proper content, proper strategy with the social media.
Thank you. Robin, do you see any difference? We're talking about the new generation wants to do more experiential instead of looking only at product. Have you seen that as well?
I think they've all looked at their baby boomer parents and are making very different decisions than their parents are making. And their attention span is so short. So like I said, you have to be extremely creative about how you're grabbing their attention, how you're holding their attention. And they want lifestyle. They want luxury, they want lifestyle, and they want quick. So everything's very fast, everything's very fast paced, even in social networks and creating content. So you have to be really strategic about grabbing their attention and doing it quickly, and then creating a turnover. Create something where they have understanding and loyalty, that they are going to buy into something that's gonna hold great value for them.
Have you seen a shift in who's your client and who's coming through the door through these digital operas?
Yes, but I think I go back to, do you want to make one sale or do you want to make consistent sales? You don't want your business to last a year. You want it to last 20, 30 years. So I think that from what, they're both saying is very true. I think it goes back to a very life never leaves its fundamentals. It doesn't matter whether you have AI, whatever it is. If you look at it, there's things that are here to stay. You need plumber, if you need electrician, if you need infrastructure, that's never going away. When you build a product, the best way to get sales is for that product to be a good product that's reliable, because what you have left in this world is us. It's service. It's how we treat each other. And that's what sells. If you sell a product, and this is what I did with cigarette, and my children do the same thing. Our boats all sell themselves, to be honest with you, because it's a brand. It's like the Ferrari of the water. It's an icon name. Why? Because I make sure and they make sure that the quality is there. And when nothing's perfect. If something goes wrong, we are on the side of caution and we take care of that customer. And I think going back to the change of, people see things and they say to themselves, I see that. I think the law of freeze is the way that I do it, and it works for me. I see it once and I see her again, I see it 3 times, I go, oh wow, something's going on here. This fellow's listening to me, something like that. But ultimately, for you to build a good business, a solid business, you have to understand the psyche of the buyer and the continuation of how that is going to be treated like by that consumer. Because again, if I'm a consumer and I consume things that are good or bad, if I buy something and I would like it, somebody else says I'm selling a product.
So there are great software right now when you're talking about listening to your customer. Now we're listening to not only one customer, we are over the world thanks to social media, and it's called social listening. So there's tons of software now they can use, that they can track keywords, sentiments, understand that if you're using these words, is my company being seen in a positive way, the negative way, where in the marketing chat and the marketing funnel do I stand next to my competitors? Have you been leveraging or want to chime in your marketing tech stack? What software are you using to be able to gather data, to be able to understand your customers' changing emotions?
Well, I outsource a lot of that. They collect all the data. That's all through AI driven technology. And it's moving so fast and it's learning so quickly. So you really have to be a student of understanding AI and technology and how all the data is collected and driven. So I think you have to be really smart about outsourcing and creating a great team of people around you that can really help you push your product.
Like I once heard, it's know your weakness and hire for those ones, but you can build a very strong team. Do you want to talk about what kind of data you're collecting, or how are you able to pivot, because you do handle not only one brand but many clients at the same time?
Yeah, but a lot of people, again, when they're taking on clients and most of the brands, especially when working the social media side of things, right? Everybody talks about more views, more followers, right? So of course, a lot of the insights that we collect are very important. But yeah, we see it too, where the video can get 3 reviews and also it's produce a buyer for the product. So it's also hard to that type of class too. Like you can't look at Star Wars are great to look at, and you have our witty build, do billions of views and stuff. That's amazing, right? But you gotta be surprised. It comes back down to that strategy and the customer experience, how a John Cotton belt. But I think the consumer experience is the most important thing. But once you kind of reflect that buyer, what are you gonna do with that buyer for that funnel? All right, I think that's where the customer experience come in. And so it's people, you sometimes you avoid, right, trying to go viral, trying to get this big following counts, and so the insights that you want to see very in your ring, it sometimes is not as a core as you believe.
Yes, I completely agree. I just got the thing up, we're wrapping up. So before, I do want to have a wrap-up question for everyone here. Let's start with Robin. We've learned so much when we start our business. Like you said, you've done everything under the sun, especially when you're a founder. Can you give us an example? If you were able to start back again, what would you do different? Like, what would you tell yourself would be your advice?
I would say stay focused, stay driven, stay positive. Don't quit. Don't ever give up. And really focus on personalization, which I think we've always been great at. People buy into our brand because of our family, because they love our family and they feel like they're an extension of our family. So I always want to create that family dynamic with our brand so that they feel like they're buying into something that's lasting and standing and holds a legacy. I think it's very important to create a legacy around your brand.
So that's always been our focus, is to what's the best for the customer, how do they feel special, how can we make them feel like a VIP at all times, how can we make sure they're always taken care of, cared for, they never have an issue with their boat, everything's always going to be operational. And I think that's a lot of the reason why we've had the success that we've had. So the advice to myself would be just stay focused. You know what to do, follow your gut, and do it.
If I were to go back, I probably went to law school and became an attorney. I'm joking, no. And I think, Andrea, you probably attest to this, right? It's kind of what Gary Vaynerchuk always said. I think a lot of people always feel back and do it again from a personal branding standpoint. Again, I really brought up the vapor some brand, but if I was to go back and do it, I would post that video. I think that's the reality of it. People they get too accustomed to it, to not being too polished, right? Or they're embarrassed by the way they speak or the way they look, right? Post that video, because you never know what story you're going to tell, or if piece of advice you're going to give. I'm sure arrest it to someone that use it, right? The biggest part about that is being consistent with that. A lot of people fail when it comes to personal branding or branding itself. They don't see the success in the first 3 months or even to a year, right? But the most successful brands I've seen in personal brands were so consistent through the whole journey of it, and not relying or be worried about, right, what they look like, what they sounded like when they posted that piece of content up their social.
Thank you for saying it. When they wrap up Gary Vee, they beat out of you not to do polish and cinematic, just post, because sometimes the thing that you think would resonate the least is what actually got customers through the door, and then you realize that now that is actually the story that's resonating, not what you team came up with.
I was just going to say, be authentic. Anything you post, just be authentic. Even if it's not polished, people like that. People like the authenticity. They like to see the dirt and grime behind what you're doing. That's what they really care about, because they see everything so polished nowadays. And I would say one of my first experience with Billy is 6 years ago at Palm Beach Boat Show. He did a quick walkthrough of one of our sit-down Yocast boats. You've all seen it. I know you've all seen it. It's had 400 million views. And not only 400 million views, but millions and millions, hundreds of millions of reposts on that. So it was just something that he just took a quick shop through. I think it was probably right around when you were first getting started. And he just did a shop through the boat. The center hatch opened up. He ran through the boat. And I was kind of embarrassed because there was some boxes and stuff down in the cabin because we were storing stuff from the boat show. But nobody cared about that. Nobody even made a comment about it. It was authentic. It was spurred the moment. And now I look back and you're looking at hundreds and hundreds of billions of views on that video.
So I think that you need to focus on what you're selling. If you want to live like the classes, you sell to the masses. And if you want to live like the masses, you get catered by the classes. So what happens is that you need to understand what product you're selling. If I'm selling a sophisticated product, the number of views for me is not as important as who are the viewers. Because if it's outside of the reach of the viewer, then what are you going to do with that? I'll tell you something that I learned in my lifetime, and I think that, again, I go back to my dad, who says, you learn from experience. You learn from all this stuff. Billy, Robin, everybody does it, you learn from experience. And what I've learned, because I started off as a practicing attorney, straight out of law school, never worked anywhere else. And I got my first death case, which was somebody who had passed away, and I said, I'll never get another death case again. I'm going to treat this like cold, which I do with all my clients, and I did with all my clients, but I realized that a lot of times you get your business from people that are what I would call the ones that adopt what you're doing. If you start talking to people that are basically doing the same thing that you're doing, what I would call businesses that are similar to yours, you're not going to sell them a lot of what you're doing, because my dad also told me you're never going to be a mayor in your own county. It just doesn't work. So what you got to think of is the people that you want to talk about your product are the people that you're going to impress with your product, because they get impressed. I did a run 4 weeks ago for Luminsea at night. I wanted my staff to understand what it was to navigate at night. Diana was on the boat, a bunch of people here were on the boat. And they were more impressed with the way that the cigarette ran than they were with the gun. That's the way it works. It's sort of somewhat ironic. But I think, and I say this because, a lot of people here are much younger. And, I've had a lot of experience with a lot of businesses. And I've always been a believer that you gotta stick to, and I think Robin said, you gotta stick to your core. Don't listen to the outside noise. Don't listen to people. You gotta believe in yourself. I've done studios with production. I've gotten a lot of viewership on all the stuff that I do. And I think the core of it to me was always to send your message. Send the message that you want to send. And I agree with Robin. It doesn't matter how great it looks or how ugly it looks. It doesn't really matter. One of my programs I started and the production quality was not there. I didn't have the money to do it the right way. That it started to take on it and you fix it along the way. The other thing that I'll leave you guys with is don't wait to start something. Don't wait. Just go with it. Learn along the way. If what people may have an Apple 17 now iPhone, it started with a 3. There's evolution in everything that you do. And if you don't understand that, you're going to wait for the perfect product and the world passes you by.
So before we get kicked out, I would say that I've seen a lot of clients, and the first thing is post. Don't be afraid of posting because you don't know what's going to resonate. Actually, trust yourself. I wish with my brand Yacht.com I had trusted myself because I was doing it in a silo. I felt like in New York where there was no other boating. And until I went into a boat show physically, I didn't know how much people were actually connecting with the brand. But I doubted myself, and until I had external validation, I didn't continue growing. So be authentic, be real, trust yourself, and start tracking your metrics. You're gonna regret when someone introduces you to marketing software. It tracks what it is that really counts for your brand. A lot of people start tracking when they feel, now that I'm successful, I'll start tracking. Start tracking now. Then later you can see what you do with the data. It's just great. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. I have a social marketing panel because this has been something that I've been a part of the evolution of for so many years, being a television and seeing social media, and now the focus on socials. I would just encourage everyone here be part of brands that have evolved and blown up and gone viral and campaigns. It is the one you least expect. I encourage everybody that is here, you're all here not even just for your own brands, but maybe your own personal brand or yourselves. Do not be afraid to do new things and go into uncharted waters. Why? Because that's how we are where we are today. It is those people that started vlogging and doing something that no one else had done to try to get the word out that are now the ones, the names that you know. But you could be that too. The other thing I would really advise, and all the things that I've learned over the course of the time, is know your audience. I think all of you said that. Know your audience, because all it takes is one. That's it. You don't have to have millions upon millions of views to really be successful. Know your audience, and these collaborations are key. And this is evidence of it. We have all these people. We pulled this off in a matter of record time. This event should not have been the success that it is, sold out, but it was because of the collaboration. And once you start touching one thing, it's like a wag. It's, it grows, it grows, it grows. So I encourage you all to collaborate with each other, do collabs on socials, try to find like-minded brands and partner with them. And that's how audiences that wouldn't know you will become very familiar with you, because you're going to start out with 0 viewers, use followers, but if you connect with brands that have more, all it takes is one, and to spread throughout that. So thank you so much to this panel. I want to thank you again and bring up our next panel.